campus that we maintain our present staff, who have been just absolutely outstanding, and the work they do is outstanding. And our goal is not to lose any. As far as I understand, we are going to have 4 educators, but they're not called educators anymore.
Field specialists.
Field specialists, different titles, and slightly different area titles as well. But again, I've been in close contact with John Pike, who is the dean, stating that our goal is our folks. We don't want to lose them. They know our county. We don't want to start all over again with people. And we also have been told that the budget will be at or below what we presently requested. We just don't know that final number yet. When everything shakes out, when they put all the staff together, they'll have those final numbers based on each person's years in service and things like that. So I'll turn over, and we're level funding requests. We're not asking for an increase, and I'll turn it over to Wendy. Ann was not able to be here today. She's out of state for a short while.
My name is Wendy Scribner. I'm the Extension Educator in Forest Resources here in Carroll County. Our role in Cooperative Extension is to bring research, technical assistance, and information from the university and other sources out to the people across the state. We have educators in forestry, agricultural resources, 4-H, family and consumer resources, and then also nutrition. The page we handed out was in a packet that was sent out to you earlier. We are asking for level funding again this year. Rent has, really most of the line items have stayed the same. Our rent increased by about $2,300. So we took that out of travel and professional development. We also this year were able to turn back $10,000 of what we requested last year. So have returned that money. And that's really.
And explain on the travel, because the travel money, 2 of our educators.
Sure. We have had a lot of the $10,000 that was returned was travel money, and both the agricultural educator and myself commute long distances to work. We try to set up our appointments on the way into the office, on the way home, to try to keep both time and mileage down, and so we end up using less travel. But if either of our situations were to change, we'd need that travel money if we were to move closer to the office, that sort of thing. So that's why money has come back in travel.
Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Sorensen.
Do the field specialists go to other counties?
Yes, the new model will have field specialists will work somewhat regionally, and so people may come in with expertise, say, in animal science. If we have Russ with background in more crop management, somebody may come over from Belknap County who has animal science. If someone in Belknap County has crop questions, Russ may go over there. So there's always been a certain level of that sharing of expertise, but as part of this new model, we're going to be really focusing in on specialties and trying to work regionally. And as a result, the models that the university has come up with have the counties paying, I believe it's, actually let me look at the numbers here, 25% of the salary costs for field specialists, as well as 25% of travel and materials for field specialists, with the state taking on and federal funds being used, recognizing that there will be some travel across county lines.
Any further questions? Yes, Representative Fleck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The 25%, is that in addition over what we're
No, it's a model where they've basically taken all of the salaries, they've come up with an average, and so each county will be Our administration will meet with the advisory council, come up with a recommendation for how many specialists there'll be, how many administrative assistants, and then program associates. And program associates stay within the county, so they would be asking for, in the county equation, 75% of the costs of those salaries. Yeah.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to call on Carroll County Transit. We're not quite an hour behind. Thank you for staying with us for so long.
I'm Beverly Raymond. I'm Director of Tri-County CAPS Carroll County Transit, or better known around to many, the Blue Link transportation systems that are operating. And I'm here today to ask for funding and support for our Flex Route system that just began on January 4th of this year. I do have budgets for you. These are 32-week budgets because we did get such a late start.
Madam Chairman, point of order.
Yeah.
Thank you. How much are they asking for?
I know she probably hasn't, that's her presentation.
We're asking for $15,000 to help support the system, and it will be used as match towards the federal monies and the state monies that we receive.
So we don't have any, we only have the department, we don't have a department head recommendation or anything?
Nothing from the commissioners, yes.
Madam Chairman, we
Commissioner
did
Sorensen.
receive a letter from this agency requesting $15,000.
Okay, we did receive.
And they
it.
have met, I believe, with a subcommittee, and maybe a subcommittee could give a report also.
Okay. Who is in the subcommittee? Is that one yours? Yes. Representative McConkey.
Madam Chairman, the subcommittee met. We've not heard the recommendation from the commissioners at this point in time. There was an affirmative vote, a majority vote by the subcommittee, 3-1, to approve $5,000 funding. But we have not heard the recommendation of the commissioners at this point.
Okay. But the subcommittee is recommending $5,000, where the request is $15,000. Okay.
Correct.
You want to do any
Sure.
presentation of?
The ultimate reason for starting a transportation system, a community transportation system in Carroll County, was the fact that I'm a trainer that comes down. I operate a system up throughout Comeau County, the same type of system that we are putting into Carroll County. I also operate one that goes over into northern Grafton County. And when I was down here doing trainings as a passenger assistance trainer or an emergency evacuation trainer, because I train for different agencies that drive vehicles that are funded under the New Hampshire Department of Transportation and also our federal monies. And they are required, all drivers are required to have those trainings. Every time I would come down to do a training, I would hear from those drivers and I would hear from those agencies, some of them being most of them human service agencies, saying the need that they had for public transportation in this area. Whether it was to bring developmentally disabled individuals to a job or to meet a job coach, or whether it was to bring elderly individuals to be able to get to a congregate meal site or maybe a medical appointment, or maybe it was just for low-income people, because a lot of times they're the ones that are left out. We found that through our other system. People who are not quite on Medicaid, but yet are not quite earning enough to be able to afford their own vehicle. So we decided to, I went ahead and asked my supervisor at that time, Larry Kelly, if I could get a feasibility study done in Carroll County to see how things would turn out. We were fortunate to be able to get a feasibility study done. That was about 4 years ago. Community Transportation Association of America is an organization that I work with and have worked with. They funded that 100%. We hired a consultant to come up to do the feasibility study. We came up with what we thought would be a preferred plan. It was a committee. There were 52 people that attended the very first committee that we held throughout Carroll County. It was held in Tamworth, but we had representation throughout Carroll County. Since that time, we do have a committee of about 15 to 20 members that meets on a regular basis and is supporting the system. When we went around to the different areas in Carroll County, we did public meetings at a lot of the town libraries. We went to a lot of human service agencies, the senior centers, to try and find out what the need would be. And after looking at several plans that the consultant came up with, there was one that was decided on. And it was through 3 zones were within there, one down in the Ossipee area down to Wolfboro, and then we had another one in the Moultonboro Sandwich area, and another one in the North Conway area. And those are our demand response, and those are funded under another agency than the agency that I'm asking you to help fund, than the system that I'm asking you to help fund. But we also came up with, how do people from Carroll County get from north to south? In some parts of Carroll County, it's not too hard because there might be some public transportation. For example, in Conway, they have some public transportation. Sometimes it's not affordable to many individuals, the low income and the elderly, but they did have something. But in a lot of the other areas in Carroll County, they had no transportation. And if they had transportation from senior centers or human service agencies, it was either dedicated to those agencies or it was dedicated to the senior transportation and probably operated from 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Medical centers don't always schedule appointments 10 to 2. Seniors don't drive as often as they used to, and when we look at the amount of seniors that are coming up in the future, there's going to be more need for that transportation service. Our service operates from 7 in the morning. Our drivers go in actually 6:30 in the morning until 6:30 in the afternoon. So it enables people to be able to get to work, to be able to get to appointments, and our other system is operating to be able to bring people to this system. So when we looked at it, one system running up and down Route 16 from Wolfboro to North Conway, and then we leave from West Ossipee to go over to Laconia, it really isn't going to be able to meet the need of the people to be able to get where they need to go. Because there's a lot of people in the rural outskirts. I work in very rural areas, and I'm finding that Carroll County has a lot of those areas also, very similar to where Coas and Northern Grafton is. And so we needed a means to be able to bring people to those routes. And we started January 4th. We've done, I believe, around 50 rides. I know it's not great, but we're just starting at this point. I'm going to say community transportation within a county like this is something that people are looking at and going, not sure how to ride that. Not sure if I trust I'm going to be able to get from here to there, or are they going to leave me there? And you have to build on it. You have to educate, build, and people have to learn, and they have to get to know the people that are operating the system. It's more of a personalized service than a taxi service, but yet we fulfill the same need. And because we are subsidized with federal and state funds, then we're able to do it at a lower cost to the clients and to people who are contributing. We look at funding, and if you look through here, we transport TNF, people who are on Medicaid, people who are that are going to a job and are funded under the Transition Assistance for Needy Families. We also bill all those. We're equipped at our office so that when we get a call that comes in at our dispatch center, we interview the individual that's going to do the transportation service with us. Or maybe it's the employment service, and they're going to make arrangements for somebody to get to work. When we have something like this, we actually bill them. There are dollars that are built in there that we're able to bill that federal agency to be able to reimburse us. So that person, although unable to pay the cost of their trip to get to work or to get to the doctors, we're getting the cost reimbursed by that agency.
Okay, how many communities have you gone to for funding? I am from Moultonboro. I know that we are involved with it. I was just wondering how many other.
For this system, none. We're not asking for any funding for this system. For the other system, we did ask for funding.
That's the Blue Loon one.
They're actually both a Blue Loon. They're just two different entities. One does a door-to-door system, and it's funded with with Bureau of Elderly and Adult Services funding and other funding we raise through the towns. The Flex Route system is funded through federal dollars from the Public Transportation System or the New Hampshire DOT and the FTA. They require 20% match for admin and capital and 50% match for operating. And I do want to include, too, that this service would have taken a lot longer for us to get up and running. But Carroll County was really fortunate that at the time when we were getting it organized, there were some ARA funds. We were able to get the vehicles through ARA funds. All the vehicles are paid for through that, which saved a tremendous amount of money, about $450,000.
Okay, so the door-to-door is that's fixed, and that is one of your companies.
It's yes, one of the services that we offer. It's
okay,
a program.
And is that the program that you were going to the towns for?
The door-to-door is, yes.
It's for the towns. And then the Flux one, you get federal and then state DOT?
Yes.
And, okay, all right, yes.
And that's the one that runs up and down Route 16 and then over to Laconia.
Okay. Representative Babson, McCarthy, and then Merrill.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. Bill, I've been trying to determine or get some information. Do you know how the ridership is distributed? Is it being predominantly used by Wolfboro or Ossipee or Conway or?
And you're asking for the flex route system? Because
No,
this is the
well,
one I'm here for.
whatever you call
or do
the one that
wanna
you're
know?
running.
I'm running both. They're two different
Okay.
systems.
Not the one that goes and picks people up, but
the other
new
one.
Yes.
We are transporting, right now, we've transported from the different areas. From Wolfboro, our buses leave West Ossipee in the morning at 6:30. They go down to either, one goes to Wolfboro, or one goes to the North Conway area a little further up. They actually go to the hospitals. And then one goes over to Laconia, and they meet up with, there's another Winnipesaukee transit system, that they will meet up over there if anyone would want to go out into Laconia. Then they switch systems, transfers free, and they have the same thing. I can't tell you exactly what areas they're going to come from. I do know that they have been people within Carroll County. At least I would think so.
I would hope so.
Yeah. I can't tell you which areas, for the simple reason on a public transportation system, unless they call in and ask us to pick them up along the route specifically and tell us their name and where they are, we really can't ask them that. That
Okay.
would be like infringing on their privacy.
Follow-up question?
Yeah.
Did I understand you to say since this bus route, the flex route, I guess you call it, has gone into business, which has been a little over a month now, I would guess, you've only had 50 riders?
Around that.
Have you had 50 riders, or is that 50 trips, or is that
50
only
rides.
25 people going twice?
It's 50 rides, and that would be going, it's a ride, each time they get on and off counts as a ride, so one person.
But
may
it could
on-
be, since it's been a month, it could be 2 people
It could be,
going, just using the bus service.
it could be.
And
I
you
can't-
get no reports back from the bus drivers, what kind of ridership
Well,
they
after
have?
they get to know the people, so we'd be able to have a good idea of who's going to be riding the bus on a regular basis. To the point where if we had to make a call because we were running late, we actually know the people well. The majority of the time, we know them well enough. That's why we're a community transportation system, because we really do get to know the people. We were traveling kids, a football team over in the Littleton area, taking them to Lancaster. The coach said, "Could you do that for us? They have no transportation." The parents couldn't get out of work, so we did. Our driver got to know those kids, and when one day he dropped them off and was a little bit uneasy about a gentleman who was riding on the bus with him. So he made sure to hang around a little bit longer to make sure that the kids got to go where they were going, and then he reported it to us. That's why we are community transportation. We take that, there's that extra step because you get to know the people. All the drivers that are hired within Carroll County.
Thank you.
Okay, Representative McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. By your admission, the vehicles cost $450,000, plus the operating expenses are almost $200,000. You're talking $650,000, but yet your passenger fares equal $10,000. Now you can understand why the government's $15 trillion in debt. My question really is, you have on here that Section 5311, a grant from DOT, $115,000. And then you have another grant from United Way, other grants, question mark, for another $15,000. That's $130,000 in grants. What happens when those grants run out? Who pays that $130,000? Where's that $130,000 going to come from that's being taken care of by grants now?
The majority of these grants, like United Way and CSBG, are usually there every year. They have been. I've been operating the system for 30 years up in Coas. They have been there every year. There are other grants that we will write for periodically to see if we can get extra funds from them. 50% of the time they do, 50% of the time we don't. That's when we look at other avenues. We put down here fundraising, $3,500. Last year we did $10,000 worth of fundraising. With their non-transfer or the sponsorship revenue, $6,500 down here. I just worked with a company last week, sold 4 rear wraps on 4 of the vehicles in Carroll County that will add up to $5,800 in 6 months that we're going to be bringing in for revenue. When the budget is written, it's written in advance. We do make some adjustments. But while we're writing these, we're sitting with these budgets, we're always working towards bringing in more revenues.
A follow-up?
Yeah.
I understand what you said, and I appreciate it. But what I'm understanding is that you're assuming that there will always be $130,000 or more worth of grants, and it'll never have to come back down on somebody else. Well, you got to make up for the grant. The grant ran out, which is always the case. You know it, everybody else knows it. You get a grant for a new cop for 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, the taxpayers got to start paying for that new cop.
We can only make projections. That's all I can do when I do this. It's an investment. We invest into it. We hope that people need it. The way that I've seen our other systems work, we triple ridership in the first year that we ran the one between Lancaster, Littleton, and Whitefield. Our other system has been running, and this is our flex route system between Berlin and Gorham since 1995. We have more ridership than we ever had before. We've gone from a 16-passenger vehicle up to a 24 to be able to accommodate with 4 wheelchair stations, because we do have handicapped individuals that ride it, and we have to meet ADA requirements. What we have down here right now for fares, that's a projection. That's a projection we got from the study that we had done.
Follow-up?
Yes.
I just can't see how anybody can justify an outlay of $650,000 when they know all they're going to get is between $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 from the riders. I just don't. That boggles my mind.
I guess where were you getting? I'm not coming up with 650, so I guess I'm just a little bit confused.
Including the cost of the vehicles that you stated
okay.
was $450,000.
And those are not replaced every year. Those we will probably replace in maybe 3 or 4 years.
Okay, thank you. Representative Merrow, and then
Thank
Representative
you,
Fleck.
Before I ask the question, just one comment on Frank. I don't, Representative McCarthy, to the best of my knowledge, there's not a public transportation system in the United States that's not subsidized. None of them make money. It's just the way it is. But aside from that, and I support your program, but one thing that bothers me, the people that I've talked to, over I've seen the feeder buses, which come in are busy all the time, and because they're making them door to door and so forth.
Right.
Sometimes when you're I forget what you call them, but the buses that make the stops and go to Conway and so forth.
Right.
Sometimes when they go by, they may only have one person or maybe even be empty because there's nobody making the trip.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think maybe that's because on your feeder lines, you will actually deliver them to the door and pick them up and everything, where on the bus they have to figure out where to go themselves?
Well, over the past year, we've been operating the demand response. We didn't have the other service, so we had the feeder service only operating. So we did go out of our way to be able to get people to move, to get them to try the system. Now we're working more towards getting them on the flex route buses. So, but it only makes a month that we started that. So, in the system, we're reviewing the system. We're looking for the ways to make it more productive and efficient to be able to serve more people.
Okay, Representative Fleck, did you have your questions done?
Yes, yeah, I believe so. I would just, one follow-up, I would assume that long-term, the feeder buses are okay, but I would assume that after a period of years, if you don't pick up on your ridership, then you will have to do something with those buses.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yes, Representative Fleck.
You didn't mention what the ridership cost is right now, the cost per rider, did you?
I didn't, not in this system. I don't know what it would be in this system as yet. We're just starting up.
Okay, now, where do you have the figures for the cost per
I can
rider?
get my demand response figures, the figures for the door-to-door service. They're probably running around $50 for a person to ride a trip. And again, we're just starting. We've been 6 months into it. I'm currently sitting down and meeting with all of our drivers and staff to look at it and say, how can we do this more effectively and efficiently, and where is the need? Because we're finding that it's a large area, and we're actually looking at breaking things down a little so that each area can have a service day.
Yes, follow-up.
I just wondered, in the planning process, did you consider, or whoever put it together, consider whether the focus should be on those people who need general transportation to employment and other areas like that, or shopping, versus the need to get to medical care? Is there any difference as you approach that
They looked at it across the board to see what it was, but we do have our priority is medical care, and especially medical care for the elderly. But medical care is number one. So if we've got somebody who's going to go out to go shopping one day, and we have somebody else that needs to go to a medical appointment, we'll ask the person that needs to go shopping if they could reschedule their trip so that we could fulfill the medical appointment. That's how it's been in all of our systems.
Okay, Representative
Yeah,
Narrow.
a quick question on these fees. My mother-in-law, years ago, before she died, had looked into maybe a year ago, had looked into using this bus a couple of times. And she was told that based on your age and income, you have a sliding fee, where if you can't afford it, they can go basically without paying anything, I guess.
Only
is that correct?
60 and older.
60 and older.
Because
okay.
we are funded by the Bureau of Elderly and Adult
Yeah,
Services,
okay.
makes up part of that cost.
Thank you.
Helps cover it.
Yes, sir.
Name is Steer, County Daily Sun. I was just wondering where the Blue Loon refuels
At the state pumps.
at the state pumps,
Mhm.
so it avoids the gas tax.
It does, Tri-County Cap and the New Hampshire Department of Transportation. They are qualified under that. We get it through, because our vehicles are funded through the New Hampshire Department of Transportation, it qualifies us to be able to get that.
I mean, is that an additional subsidy, or is that factored into the subsidies that are given through the state?
I would say it is with the state. I'm really not sure, Damon. I've never, but I would say, yeah, there's no excise tax because we're a nonprofit too.
Okay, Commissioner Sorensen.
A quick question. How far do you go door to door? How far do you travel to go door to door? Somebody in Effingham calls up, you'll go out to Effingham, pick them up?
If they were on the border of Effingham, we would do that. We're now finding out with this past year that we have done, this is on the door-to-door service, okay? We're now finding out where the need is, so we're basing our services in service areas, very similar to our other areas. So we will probably have a day where we're going to go around the Effingham area, and another day we're going to go around the Conroy area, and another day around another area. And make people aware that that's a day where they'll be able to call, schedule their rides, and do door-to-door transportation. Flex Route's open to everyone all the time. It just doesn't reach all those areas.
Okay, Representative McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you have, there's nothing on here for fuel, except fuel and lubricants during preventative maintenance. Do you have any idea what it costs for fuel, or how many gallons you use a month, or?
I don't know the gallons, but the
Right there,
fuel cost is
41,250.
yes.
How did you come up with that figure if you didn't know the answer to his question?
We estimate that per what we pay per gallon, okay, and then how many miles we do with our vehicles. We're estimating these vehicles are going to go 250 miles for the round trip. Let me see, I've got that right here. 250 per day, which will be 750 for a full day. So we take that and we estimate it about the amount of days we've been operating and the cost per gallon. So how many gallons we use per gallons we use per mile, and then we calculate it for the cost per gallon, and that's how we arrive at it. And this includes deviating off route because we are required to do that under ADA.
Okay, are there any further questions? Seeing none, and I see you have brochures. You want to pass them out so that we know. We don't have much contact information.
And I'm going to I will send you around my business card also.
The other one? Yeah, you don't
And
consider
the county
anything.
jail too, right?
You don't contribute anything.
Okay, thank you.
I'll also send around the rider's guide for our door-to-door service.
I have a good question.
Yes, Commissioner.
The in-kind revenue,
Mm-hmm.
can you explain what that is?
Sure. In-kind revenue is when we have volunteers come in and clean our vehicles, or maybe they're going to come in and they're going to shred paper for us, or maybe if we have our brochures and they make them up, they're going to fold the brochures. Although they're volunteers and we don't pay them, their time is still considered valuable, so we estimate that at a rate of pay that we think, if we were hiring them, that we would have paid them.
It also said advisory group and board, 20.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It said advisory group and board, 20 times $25, 7 meetings.
Where are you,
The first-
where are you reading?
Just the first page.
In-kind revenue.
In-kind revenue,
Uh-huh.
advisory group and board, 20.
Yep, for our advisory